Pensacola is the westernmost city in the Florida Panhandle and the county seat of Escambia County, Florida, United States. As of the 2010 census, the city had a total population of 51,923, down from 56,255 at the 2000 census. Pensacola is the principal city of the Pensacola metropolitan area, which had an estimated 461,227 residents in 2012. Pensacola is a seaport on Pensacola Bay, which is protected by the barrier island of Santa Rosa and connects to the Gulf of Mexico. A large United States Naval Air Station, the first in the United States, is located southwest of Pensacola near Warrenton. It is the base of the Blue Angels Flight Demonstration Team and the National Naval Aviation Museum. The main campus of the University of West Florida is situated north of the city center. The area was originally inhabited by Muscogean peoples. The Pensacola people lived there at the time of European contact, and Creek people frequently visited and traded from present-day southern Alabama. Spanish explorer Tristan de Luna founded a short-lived settlement in 1559. In 1698 the Spanish established a presidio in the area, from which the modern city gradually developed. The area changed hands several times as European powers competed in North America. During Florida's British rule, fortifications were strengthened. It is nicknamed the City of Five Flags, due to the five governments that have ruled it during its history. The flags of Spain, France, Great Britain, the United States of America and the Confederate States of America. Other nicknames include World's Whitest Beaches, Cradle of Naval Aviation, Western Gate to the Sunshine State, America's First Settlement, Emerald Coast, Redneck Riviera, Red Snapper Capital of the World, and Pensacola. History. The original inhabitants of the Pensacola Bay Area were Native American peoples. At the time of European contact, a Muscogean-speaking tribe known to the Spanish as the Pensacola lived in the region. This name was not recorded until 1677, but the tribe appeared to be the source of the name Pensacola for the bay and thence the city. Creek people, also Muscogean-speaking, came regularly from present-day southern Alabama to trade, so the peoples were part of a broader regional and even continental network of relations. The best-known Pensacola culture site in terms of archaeology is the Bottle Creek site, a large site located 59 miles west of Pensacola, north of Mobile, Alabama. This site has at least 18 large earthwork mounds, 5 of which are arranged around a central plaza. Its main occupation was from 1250 CE to 1550. It was a ceremonial center for the Pensacola people and a gateway to the society. This site would have had easy access by a dugout canoe, the main mode of transportation used by the Pensacola. The area's written recorded history begins in the 16th century, with documentation by Spanish explorers who were the first Europeans to reach the area. The expeditions of Panfilo de Narvaez in 1528 and Hernando de Soto in 1539 both visited Pensacola Bay, the latter of which documented the name Bay of Orcuz. In 1559, Tristan de Luna y Arellano landed with some 1,500 people on 11 ships from Veracruz, Mexico. The expedition was to establish an outpost, ultimately called Santa Maria de Orcuz by Luna, as a base for Spanish efforts to colonize Santa Elena, but the colony was decimated by a hurricane on September 19, 1559, which killed an unknown number of sailors and colonists, sank 6 ships, grounded a 7th, and ruined supplies. The survivors struggled to survive, most moving inland to central Alabama for several months in 1560 before returning to the coast. But after 2 years, the effort was abandoned in 1561. Some of the survivors eventually sailed to Santa Elena, but another storm hit there. Survivors made their way to Cuba and finally returned to Pensacola, where the remaining 50 at Pensacola were taken back to Veracruz. The Viceroy's advisors later concluded that northwest Florida was too dangerous to settle. They ignored it for 137 years. In the late 17th century, the French began exploring the lower Mississippi River with the intention of colonizing the region as part of La Louisiana, New France in North America. Fearful that Spanish territory would be threatened, the Spanish founded a new settlement in western Florida. In 1698 they established a fortified town near what is now Fort Barrancas, laying the foundation for permanent European-dominated settlement of the modern city of Pensacola. The Spanish built 3 presidios in Pensacola. Presidio Santa Maria de Galve. The presidio included Fort San Carlos, Austria, and a village with church. Presidio Isla de Santa Rosa. This next presidio was on western Santa Rosa Island near the site of present Fort Pickens, but hurricanes battered the island in 1741 and 1752. The garrison was moved to the mainland. Presidio San Miguel de Pensacola. The final presidio was built about 5 miles east of the first presidio, the present-day historic district of downtown Pensacola, named from Pensacola, developed around the fort. During the early years of settlement, a tri-racial Creole society developed. As a fortified trading post, the Spanish had mostly men stationed here. Some Merida had unions with Pensacola Creek or African women, both slave and free, and the descendants created a mixed-race population of mestizos and mulattoes. The Spanish encouraged slaves from the southern British colonies to come to Florida as a refuge, promising freedom in exchange for conversion to Catholicism and militia service. Most went to the area around St. Augustine, but escaped slaves also reached Pensacola. After years of settlement, the Spanish ceded Florida to the British in 1763 as a result of an exchange following British victory over France in the French and Indian War, and French cession of its territories in North America. The British designated Pensacola as the capital of the new colony of West Florida. From 1763, the British strengthened defenses around the mainland area of Fort San Carlos de Barrancas, building the Royal Navy redoubt. After Spain joined the American Revolution in 1779 on the side of the rebels, Spanish forces captured the city in the 1781 Battle of Pensacola, gaining control of West Florida. After the war, the British officially ceded both West Florida and East Florida to Spain. In 1785, with the founding of the Panton Leslie Company here, many Creek from southern Alabama and Georgia came to trade, and it developed as a major center. It was a garrison town, predominantly males in the military or trade. Americans made raids into the area, and settlers pressured the federal government to gain control of this territory. In 1819, Spain and the United States negotiated the Adams-Onis Treaty, by which Spain sold the Floridas to the United States for $5 million. A Spanish census of 1820 indicated 181 households in the town, with a third of mixed blood. The people were predominantly French and Spanish Creole. Indians in the area were noted through records, travelers' accounts, and paintings of the era, including some by George Washington Sully and George Catlin. Creek women were also recorded in marriages to Spanish men, in court records or deeds. In 1821, with Andrew Jackson as provisional governor, Pensacola became part of the United States. The Creek continued to interact with European Americans and African Americans, but the dominant whites increasingly imposed the binary racial classifications, white and black. However, American Indians and mestizos were identified separately in court and Catholic Church records, and as Indians in censuses up until 1840, attesting to the presence in the society. After that, the Creek were not separately identified as Indian, but the people did not disappear. Even after removal of many Seminole to Indian territory, Indians, often of mixed race but culturally identifying as Muskogean, lived throughout Florida. St. Michael's Cemetery was established in the 18th century at a location in a south-central part of the city, which developed as the downtown area. Initially owned by the Church of St. Michael, it is now owned and managed by St. Michael's Cemetery Foundation of Pensacola, Inc. Preliminary studies indicate that there are over 3,200 marked burials as well as a large number unmarked. Tensions between the white community and Indians tended to increase during the removal era. In addition, an increasing proportion of Anglo-Americans, who constituted the majority of whites by 1840, led to a hardening of racial discrimination in the area. There was disapproval of white men living with women of color, which had previously been accepted. In 1853, the legislature passed a bill prohibiting Indians from living in the state, and provided for capture and removal to Indian territory. While the bill excluded half-bloods and Indians already living in white communities, they went underground to escape persecution. No Indians were listed in late 19th and early 20th century censuses for Escambia County. People of Indian descent were forced into the white or black communities by appearance, and officially, in terms of records, disappeared. It was a pattern repeated in many southern settlements. Children of white fathers and Indian mothers were not designated as Indian in the late 19th century, whereas children of blacks and mulattoes were classified within the black community, related to laws during the slavery years. In 1907–1908 there were 116 Creek in Pensacola who applied for the Eastern Cherokee enrollment, thinking that all Indians were eligible to enroll, based on Alabama census records. Most of these individuals have been found to be descendants of Creek who had migrated to the Pensacola area from southern Alabama after Indian removal of the 1830s. Geography. Topography. Pensacola is located at 30.4369 degrees north, 87.20917 degrees west, 30.43694 minus 87.20917 on the north side of Pensacola Bay. It is 59 miles east of Mobile, Alabama, and 196 miles west of Tallahassee, the capital of Florida. According to the United States Census Bureau, Pensacola has a total area of 40.7 square miles, consisting of 22.5 square miles of land and 18.1 square miles, 44.62% water. Architecture. Pensacola does not have a prominent skyline, but has several low-rise buildings. The tallest is the 15-floor Crown Plaza Grand Hotel, which stands at 146 feet. Other tall buildings include the Scenic Apartments, SunTrust Tower, Seville Tower, and the Empty Building. Historic buildings in Pensacola include the First National Bank Building, Climate Cantonment Clinch, a short-lived United States Army outpost, began providing meteorological observations in the 1820s through the 1830s. Observations from the Pensacola area by other sources continued intermittently over the next several decades. Weather statistics since the late 20th century have been recorded at the airport. The city has seen single-digit temperatures on 3 occasions: 5 degrees Fahrenheit on January 21, 1985, 7 degrees Fahrenheit on February 13, 1899, and 8 degrees Fahrenheit on January 11, 1982. According to the Köppen climate classification system, Pensacola has a humid subtropical climate with short, mild winters and hot, humid summers. Typical summer conditions have highs in the lower 90s degree F and lows in the mid-70s degree F. Afternoon or evening thunderstorms are common during the summer months. Due partly to the coastal location, temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit are relatively rare, and last occurred in June 2011, when 2 of the first 4 days of the month recorded highs reaching the century mark. The highest temperature ever recorded in the city was 106 degrees Fahrenheit on July 14, 1980. The daily average temperature in January is 51.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Freezing temperatures occur on an average 13.7 nights per season, with the average window for freezing conditions being from December 13 to February 20. Temperatures below 20 degrees Fahrenheit are very rare, and last occurred on January 8, 2015, when a low of 19 degrees Fahrenheit was seen. The lowest temperature ever recorded in the city was 5 degrees Fahrenheit on January 21, 1985. Snow is rare in Pensacola, but does occasionally fall. The most recent snow event occurred on February 12, 2010. The city receives 64.28 inches of precipitation per year, with a rainy season in the summer. The rainiest month is July, with 7.40 inches, with May being the driest month at 4.17 inches. In June 2012, over 1 foot of rain fell on Pensacola and adjacent areas, leading to widespread flooding. On April 29, 2014, Pensacola was drenched by at least 20 inches of rain within a 24-hour period, causing the worst flooding in 30 years. The city suffered a major blow on February 23, 2016, when a large EF3 wedge tornado hit the northwest part of Pensacola, causing major damage and several injuries. Hurricanes. Pensacola's location on the Florida Panhandle makes it vulnerable to hurricanes. Major hurricanes which have made landfall at or near Pensacola since the late 20th century include Eloise, Frederick, Juan, Aaron, Opal, George, Ivan, and Dennis. Pensacola and several surrounding areas were devastated by Hurricane Ivan. Pensacola was on the eastern side of the eye wall, which sent a large storm surge into Escambia Bay. This destroyed most of the I-10 Escambia Bay Bridge. The storm knocked 58 spans off the eastbound and westbound bridges and misaligned another 66 spans, forcing the bridge to close to traffic in both directions. The surge also destroyed the fishing bridge that spanned Pensacola Bay alongside the Philip Beale Memorial Bridge, locally known as the 3-Mile Bridge. Over $6 billion in damage occurred in the metro area and more than 10,000 homes were destroyed, with another 27,000 heavily damaged. NASA created a comparison image to illustrate the massive damage. Because of the widespread losses, Hurricane Ivan drove up the cost of housing in the area, leading to a severe shortage of affordable housing. In July 2005, Hurricane Dennis made landfall just east of the city, sparing it the damage received from Ivan the year before. However, hurricane and near-hurricane force winds were recorded in downtown, causing moderate damage. Pensacola received only a glancing blow from Hurricane Katrina in 2005, resulting in light to moderate damage reported in the area. The aftermath of the extensive damage from Katrina was a dramatic reduction in tourism coming from Louisiana, Mississippi and Alabama. Demographics. As of the census of 2010, there were 51,923 people, 23,600 households, and 14,665 families residing in the city, and 402,000 people in the Pensacola MSA. The population density was 2,303.5 people per square mile. There were 26,848 housing units at an average density of 1,189.4 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city is 66.3% white, 28.0% African American, 2.0% Asian, 0.6% Native American, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 2.3% from two or more races, 3.3% Hispanic or Latino of any race. There were 24,524 households, out of which 24.6% had children living with them. 39.7% were married couples living together. 16.7% had a female householder with no husband present, and 40.2% were non-families. 32.9% of all households were made up of individuals, and 11.7% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.27 and the average family size was 2.92. Out of the total population in Pensacola, 45.9% identify with a religion, slightly lower than the national average of 48.34%. Over 48% of Pensacolians who practice a religion identify as Baptists. Other Christian denominations include Roman Catholics, Pentecostal, Methodist, Episcopal, Presbyterian, and Orthodox. Pensacola is home to a small but significant Jewish community, whose roots date mostly to German Jewish immigrants of the mid to late 19th century. There were also Sephardic Jewish migrants from other areas of the South, and immigrants from other areas of Europe. The first Florida chapter of B'nai B'rith was founded downtown in 1874, as well as the first temple, Bethel, in 1876. Apart from the Reform Bethel, Pensacola is also served by the conservative B'nai Israel Synagogue. Paula Ackerman, the first woman who performed rabbinical functions in the United States, was a Pensacola native and led services at Bethel. Jurisdictions outside the city have opposed its efforts to annex more area. Economy. Personal income. The median income for a household in the city was $34,779, and the median income for a family was $42,868. Males had a median income of $32,258 versus $23,582 for females. The per capita income for the city was $30,556 in 2011. About 12.7% of families and 16.3% of the population were below the poverty line, including 26.2% of those under age 18 and 9.2% of those age 65 or over. Military. The city has been referred to as the cradle of naval aviation. Naval Air Station Pensacola was the first naval air station commissioned by the U.S. Navy in 1914. Tens of thousands naval aviators have received the training there, including John H. Glenn, USMC, who became the first American to orbit the Earth in 1962, and Neil Armstrong, who became the first man to set foot on the Moon in 1969. The Navy's Flight Demonstration Squadron, the Blue Angels, is stationed there. The National Museum of Naval Aviation is located on the Naval Air Station and is free to the public. The museum cares for and exhibits hundreds of vintage naval aviation aircraft and preserves the history of naval aviation through displays, symposiums, IMAX movies and tours. Corrie Station Naval Technical Training Center serves as an annex for the main base and the Center for Information Dominance. CW03 Gary R. SCUETA's Memorial Health Clinic is at Corrie Station, Naval Hospital, Pensacola, as is the main Navy Exchange and Defense Commissary Agency commissary complex for both Corrie Station and NAS Pensacola. The Army National Guard B Troop 1 to 153 Cavalry, Bravo Company 146th Expeditionary Signal Battalion is stationed in Pensacola. Hospital's Sacred Heart Health System official site. West Florida Hospital official site. Baptist Hospital official site. Gulf Breeze Hospital official site. The Andros Institute official site. Santa Rosa Medical Center official site. Naval Hospital Pensacola official site. Select Specialty Hospital official site. Tourism. There are a number of annual festivals, events, historic tours, and landmarks. The Pensacola Seafood Festival and the Pensacola Crawfish Festival, held in the heart of historic downtown, has been held for nearly 30 years with live music acts. The Great Gulf Coast Arts Festival is held annually in November in Seville Square, often drawing more than 200 regional and international artists, as well as the Children's Art Festival, which is held in the same park, featuring art by children from a local area schools. There are several walking tours of the historic 18th century era restored neighborhoods. Pensacola is the site of the Vietnam Veterans Wall South. There are a number of historical military installations from the Civil War, including Fort Barrancas. Fort Pickens served as a temporary prison for Geronimo. There is the National Naval Aviation Museum and Pensacola Lighthouse at NAS Pensacola. The city's Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Pensacola, is overseen by the Greater Pensacola Chamber. Culture. The arts and theater. There are a number of different performance venues in the Pensacola area, including the Pensacola Bay Center, often used for big-ticket events, and the Saranga Theater, used for performances and mid-level events. Other theaters used for live performances, plays, and musicals include the Pensacola Little Theater, Pensacola State College, University of West Florida, Vinyl Music Hall, and Loblolly Theater. Pensacola is also home to the Pensacola Opera, Pensacola Children's Chorus, Pensacola Symphony Orchestra, and the Choral Society of Pensacola, as well as Ballet Pensacola. There is also the Palafox Place Entertainment District, Sports, Parks and Recreation, Big Lagoon State Park, Perdido Key State Park, Tarkiln Bayou Preserve State Park, Pensacola Bayfront Stadium, Plaza Ferdinand VII, Law and Government. The city of Pensacola utilizes a strong mayor-council form of government, which was adopted in 2011 after citizens voted in 2009 to approve a new city charter. An elected mayor serves as the chief executive of the city government, while an 8-member city council serves as the city's governing body. A council president is selected by the council from its members, along with a vice president. City voters approved a charter amendment on June 11, 2013, which eliminated the then 9-member council's 2 at-large seats. One seat was phased out in November 2014, and the other will expire in November 2016. 2 additional charter amendments were approved on November 4, 2014, which made the position of mayor subject to recall and provided the city council with the authority to hire staff. The current city hall was opened in 1986. Politics. Like other parts of the South during Reconstruction, Pensacola was solidly Republican for years after the Civil War. The Republican government had numerous African American politicians, including several county commissioners, city aldermen, constables, state representatives, and even one African-American mayor, Salvador Pons. However, with the 1884 election of native Pensacolan and former Confederate General Edward Perry, a dramatic shift occurred. Perry, a Democrat who actually lost the Escambia County vote during the statewide election, acted to dissolve the Republican city government of Pensacola and in 1885 replaced this government with hand-picked successors, including railroad magnate William D. Chipley. The only African-American to remain in city government was George Washington Witherspoon, a pastor with the African Methodist Episcopal Church who was previously a Republican and switched parties to the Democrats. Following Governor Perry's dissolution of the Republican government, the city remained Democratic for more than a century after the Civil War, with no African Americans serving in an elected capacity for nearly a century. As was the case in most of Florida, the Democratic primary was the real contest for most state and local elections until the 1970s. However, from the 1960s onward, residents of this staunchly conservative military and Bible Belt city began splitting the tickets and voting Republican in national elections. Despite this, Democrats continued to win most elections at the state and local level well into the 1990s, though most of them were very conservative even by Southern Democratic standards. This changed in 1994, when Republican Attorney Joe Scarborough defeated Vince Wibbs, Jr., the son of popular former Democratic Mayor Vince Wibbs, in a landslide to represent Florida's 1st congressional district, which is based in Pensacola. Republicans also swept all of the area's seats in the state legislature, the majority of which were held by Democrats. Since then, Republicans have dominated every level of government, although municipal elections are officially non-partisan. In August 2005, registered Republicans outnumbered Democrats for the first time in the area's history. As of August 2005, in Escambia County, 44% of the residents are registered Republicans compared to 39.91% of the population having registered as Democrats, with another 13.21% having no party affiliation. In the 2004 presidential election, 65% of Escambia County residents voted for George W. Bush over John Kerry. The Pensacola area has not supported a Democrat for president since John F. Kennedy in 1960. In 1968, Pensacola and the rest of North Florida supported American Independent Party candidate George Wallace. Chuck Baldwin, the 2008 presidential nominee of the Constitution Party, is the pastor of Crossroad Baptist Church in Pensacola. Regional Representatives Pensacola is currently represented in the U.S. House of Representatives by Jeff Miller, in the State Senate by Greg Evers, and in the State House by District 1 Wahidla, Clay Ingram in District 2 Wahidla. Mike Hill,